to go over. So, we're going to deal with something called, something that called sacred cows, all right? A sacred cow is you would think back to the Israelites worshiping that golden calf in the wilderness. You know, you've been saved, you've seen the truth, but you go back to the old stuff, the old ways of thinking. And these are religious sacred cows. These are things that we're going to address, things that people say and think that are strongholds of unbelief that people often don't know about. They think they're in faith when they say these things. It's a lot of religious lingo, such as God won't give me more than I can handle, or God's will in the situation. Oh, this is just whatever God has for me, and really it's not necessarily scriptural what they're saying, or it's not necessarily God's will for them, or it could be a different situation going on. So we're gonna deal with some of that. All right, so we're gonna address one more common issue here. So the question that's commonly brought up is, didn't Jesus need to heal people privately, and shouldn't we? There are occasions where Jesus took people to heal them privately, and it's not for the reasons we think. The church often teaches you got to get them away from the unbelievers. You have to get the people in the right environment, and that's not true. That's an unbelieving statement. That's unbelief. Okay, that's saying God can't unless we do this. It's putting limitations on God and on yourself and on your faith, and it's a stumbling block, and it's a stronghold of unbelief, and it's not faith, and it's not accurate to Scripture. And there's actually two main scripture and I was hoping to maybe get to the other one next week, but we'll address one of them here. Okay. And we're going to cover pretty broadly why Jesus healed people privately. And it's in the scripture. If you're looking for it, it's there. The answers are all in scripture. What happens is people make inferences by what they're reading in scripture. They make interpretations and they add to it, and you can't add to scripture. Don't do that. And instead, we're just going to read scripture and take it for what it says. And the truth is in what it says. And we're going to find that right here. So the book of Mark has a lot of these secret healings. Okay, but the reason's there. It's in chapter 1. Mark 1, 40 to 45. Why did Jesus take people secretly? So he says, a leper came to him. He was made, okay, then the leper was made clean. He was healed. And Jesus strictly warned, see that you say nothing to anybody, right? Keep it a secret. But he, the blind man, the leper, went out and began to proclaim it much, and to spread about the matter, so that Jesus could no more openly enter the city, but was outside in desert places. People came to him from everywhere. So the answer's right there. Jesus heals this guy. He says, be quiet, don't tell anybody. The guy goes and blabs it, right? The whole city flocks to him, and Jesus could no longer openly enter into the city. He couldn't get into the city because the crowd was so big it blocked up the city. He wanted to go through the city and move about as he wanted to, so he wanted it to be a secret. But the guy blabbed and the city came and people came from everywhere. So he had to go out in the desert and preach in the desert.
You know why he blabbed though, right?
Because he was excited he got healed. And he's thinking the Messiah's here,
I'd be excited too, I can see. Oh my God,
So Jesus he would do this for two primary reasons. One is this right here, okay? To make sure he could freely access ministry. He could freely minister to people, without having crowds block him up. And he does this when he heals Jairus' daughter also. He puts everyone out. He makes sure nobody follows him into Jairus' house. But the crowds were a big issue because he couldn't go places. They were following him around. He was trying to escape the crowds really often. It wasn't like he was enjoying it all the time. A lot of times it was a hindrance. And he felt compassion for the people, and he healed them, and he preached to them and did what he could. But sometimes he had to sneak away, and sometimes he had to keep things secret, right? But think about this for a moment. Doesn't God leave the 99 and serve the one, seek the one, right? Think of it. This guy's the one. He's the one. Jesus went and healed him, despite the fact that the guy ruined his ministry in the city. Think about that.
Yeah.
The guy ruins the ministry in the city. He messes up Jesus moving through the city. But Jesus took him aside and healed him. He didn't stop doing this. He kept doing it in private. So just later in the book of Mark, chapter 8, they brought a blind man to him, and he was restored and saw everyone clearly. He sent him away to his house, saying, "Do not enter the village, nor tell anyone in the village." So Jesus wises up this time, right? He's been here before, and he doesn't want to do it again. He tells the guy, "Don't even go to the village. Don't even go." And this happens over and over in Mark. Mark has like 3 or 4 instances where Jesus tells people to keep it a secret.
I think he did again.
But Jesus wises up. He says, "Don't even go to this village. Don't even go in." But think about it. Jesus had his ministry in the city blocked up in chapter 1. And in chapter 8, he's still healing people privately. Think about the heart of God. People think, here's another backwards thing in the church. Ready? I can't pray for something too small. I can't pray for something too big. But if it's in the middle, if it's like Goldilocks porridge, if it's just right, maybe God will answer my prayer. Like, look, little stuff, like I stubbed my toe, or I lost my keys. I can't pray for that. God doesn't have time for that. Look, if it's too big, there's no way God will do that. He doesn't do big miracles anymore.
Who said stubbing your toe is small?
It depends on how bad you stub your toe. But if it's in the middle, if I just say a middle of the road prayer, then God will answer it, right? It's just silly. It's backwards doctrine. Backwards doctrine, right? Yeah, you can stub your toe pretty hard. Okay, that's a broken toe, not a stub toe. That's a big deal. That moves into it's too big to pray for. Don't touch it.
and then our 3-year-old does.
So really, the point I bring up here is that this is the heart of God. Look, he'll. It's not about how many people this story reaches. It's about healing the person. He doesn't even want him telling people. People always say, "Oh, the signs are for God's glory. The signs point to Jesus. The signs point to Jesus. The signs point to God." But who is this a sign to other than healing that one man? Don't tell anybody and don't go to the village. Who's going to see this sign other than that one man? He's the God who leaves the 99 to seek the one.
Right.
There's no too small a prayer. Everyone thinks it has to be a big thing. That's got to be a big thing for God to do in order to heal somebody because it glorifies Him. Because God's so stuck up and full of His glory, and He needs some kind of puffing up of His own pride and ego. God, it's not God. The God of Jesus Christ, the God that is Jesus Christ, He keeps it a secret even. He doesn't care. It's because a man was suffering that Jesus took a risk of losing all the other souls just because one man was in front of him. One man came to him, and Jesus took a risk to lose others because the one was lost, and the one in front of him was lost, and He went and He saved that one because it was the one in front of him. That's the heart of our God. There's nothing too small. He's willing to heal on all occasions. It's atoned for, and that's why He put it in the atonement. There's never a barrier between God's healing power and us. The barrier and hindrances are in our minds, and it's strongholds like this that lead us to having barriers in our minds. Okay?
Reinforces them even.
Reinforces them, yes. Yep, it's the religious lingo like that, like these things that, reinforces unbelief, and you hear it all the time from even Christians who've been in the church a long time. They kind of keep repeating it.